Hello and welcome back to Dave's Movie Diary. Today I'm talking about Cat People from 1982. To be honest, my head's still spinning a bit from this one. It's a film with a real cult reputation. You see it referred to here and there in various ways. I remember when I saw it on video in the late 80s. I was always intrigued by the film when I used to see it there on the shelf in the video store. It had a cool stylized font to it. Cat People, it just sounds interesting. And then it's got those eyes of the leopard. And of course, Nastassja Kinski in the film, which to a boy in his late teens was very exciting, and then throw in Malcolm McDowell as well, who I knew was the the main star of Clockwork Orange, which is a film that I was already interested in, hadn't seen it yet. So it had a lot of things going for it in terms of being intriguing and slightly forbidden. It was rated R. And that was quite unusual too. Not many films were rated, got the R rating, so that promised of illicit things to take in. And I remember watching it, and I didn't remember too much about the plot except that there was this leopard going around terrorizing people, and there was a weird dynamic between Nastassja Kinski and Malcolm McDowell, and there was a zoo, and that was about it. I just remember it being a really interesting experience, and really stylized. I'm interested in that sort of thing from time to time, and I had been aware of this film. I'd been circling it for a little while, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Except I know you can hire it on YouTube, but I'm always keen to see if I can pick it up for free. And I just happened to be looking for some DVDs at the library the other day, and there it was. So I quickly snapped it up and checked it out. The plot, basically. It follows a young woman called Irina Gallia. That's the Nastassja Kinski character. She moves to New Orleans and reconnects with her brother Paul. That's the Malcolm McDowell character. They live they live in New Orleans in an interesting building with old world furnishings, and there's an older woman that lives there that I assume is mixed up in voodoo. It's never explicitly stated, but she's just there. She's quite eerie. She's nice enough, but you can tell there's something more to her. Anyway, Irina soon discovers that her family carries a strange secret, and that is that the belief that members of their bloodline are actually descendants of an ancient race who appear at the start of the film before we get into modern times. And what they do is transform into panthers when experiencing sexual desire. And you just got to go with that. That's the premise of the film. Along the way, there's some grisly murders soon occurring with these panthers, I guess they are. And the police get involved, and they call the zoo to come and get this trapped panther out of this, third floor grotty motel room. And that's John Hurd's character, Oliver, who shows up with Annette O'Toole and Ed Begley Jr. From the zoo, from the New Orleans Zoo, to try and trap this panther. One thing leads to another. John Hurd meets Irina, offers her a job in the gift shop at the New Orleans Zoo. she ends up working there. Of course, she's fascinated by the panther, who's now in a cage, trapped there. Um, and Paul, I assume from the get-go that Paul is the panther. He always gets around in black. Malcolm McDowell's got those terrific eyes, and the way he moves is kind of like a big cat. He's incredible. And later on in the film, Paul breaks the news to her that accepting their nature is the only way to survive, and to do that, they've actually got to have sex, even though they're brother and sister. And by the way, our parents were the same thing. They were brother and sister. And that's a fair bit to take in for Irina. And anyway, I won't get into the rest of the plot, but it gets crazier and crazier, or more interesting, depending on how you view this film. And it's definitely not a horror film. It's more a stylized sort of a bizarre look at identity and sexuality and whether people can control their own instincts. But really, it's just an interesting, good time, I guess. I don't think the film's really about too much. But yeah, it's really open to interpretation. It was directed by Paul Schrader, and that was another reason I was really keen to revisit Cat People, because over the years I've really gotten into what he does, not just as a director but as a screenwriter, and it goes all the way back really to the fact that he wrote Taxi Driver, which is one of the defining films of the 70s, one of my favourite films of all time. It's easily in my top 5 movies of all time. His work often involves or explores these ideas of obsession and loneliness, guilt as well, repression, interested in looking at outsiders living on the edge of society. And recently I watched Mishima, A Life in 4 Chapters, which was like his, I guess, straight film, if you want to call it that. There's not a lot of Schraderness in that film. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that Schrader always brings something really interesting to the table. His films are often controversial, can be uncomfortable. They're never predictable, is what I've discovered. So, along with Taxi Driver, he wrote Raging Bull and The Last Temptation of Christ. So he's been closely involved with Martin Scorsese for a while. He directed some fantastic films, including Blue Collar with Harvey Keitel, and Richard Pryor was in that as well, 1978. American Gigolo, which is a film that I absolutely love. That's a great film. Some other ones, The Card Counter. That's a more recent film, about 5 years ago. That's a really interesting film too. Affliction with Nick Nolte, I think. I'd like to revisit that one. I haven't seen that one for a long time. Anyway, you can already see he delves into some interesting ideas. I love the setting for this film being New Orleans. Whenever a film's set in New Orleans, I'm interested. I'm in. I've never been there, but just from watching movies and reading about it and thinking about it, it does seem like a unique city, especially with the French influences and the old architecture and the feeling that there's something mysterious going on just beneath the surface, bubbling along, a place where reality and mythology can exist together. And for a film like this, about ancient instincts and transformation, it really is the perfect location. And Schrader uses the location really well, especially when Irina is strolling around the city when she first gets there, when Paul has mysteriously disappeared for a couple of days. Of course, when people who know think about this film, they think about David Bowie. I love the Cat People song. It's one of I love David Bowie, but it's one of my favorite tracks of his. Just the beats at the start of the film, and then as soon as the film ends, the whole track kicks in. It's really perfectly choreographed with the panther's eyes, and then he bares his teeth. Great, but at the start, it really creates the atmosphere well. I already could sense that something mysterious and dangerous was coming. The other musical collaborator is Giorgio Moroder. He's always awesome. Scarface, amongst other things. Whenever he's involved, I get that early '80s feeling, synths, interesting sounds, bit bizarre. This time he creates a really dreamlike atmosphere and adds a lot of power to the story. So, and just on power, the cats, man, the animals look incredible. There's a shot where the panther looks directly into the camera. Well, there's lots of shots, and those eyes are terrifying and mesmerizing. And there's just so much power contained in them. They're so strong. That's what makes this film work. I was in awe of their strength and just thinking if this thing gets loose, they're not monsters. They're just real predators. And the film does well at capturing that sense that something incredibly beautiful can also be so dangerous, and it just lives on instinct. I have to admit, I didn't enjoy seeing the panthers and the lions and all the other wild animals just confined in these tiny little cells at the zoo. Like, hopefully we've gotten better at this. I haven't been to a zoo for a while, but just tiny little space there for these powerful creatures. And no wonder if they get out, they go berserk. Because they're wild animals. They're just not meant to be contained like that. But anyway, Nastassja Kinski. Wow. Whenever I think about her or hear about her, I'm transported back to the early and mid '80s when she was massive. She was so well known to people my age in the late '80s when we were getting into movies like this. Like, if you heard Nastassja Kinski was in something, you'd watch it. Like, just because she was so sexy and so alluring and charismatic, and she would be in dangerous films or interesting films. There was always something going on, and she's in this film just about all of it. And yeah, she definitely represents a certain type of early '80s cinema. Mysterious, a bit unpredictable, vulnerable. Often in these films, she's set up as someone naive and childlike, but with the expectation of unleashing a potent sexuality that's living just beneath the surface. That's definitely what happens in this one. Really, the film depends on you believing that Irina is frightened of what she's becoming, but she's also excited about it. And I guess whether this film works for you or not is maybe if you believe that she carries that off. She'd been in Tess in 1979, which was a big Roman Polanski production that really catapulted her into international stardom. I think she was pretty young when she made that, still in her teens, maybe. I could be wrong. I think she might have also been in Suspiria, the Dario Argento film, a couple of years before that. I haven't looked into that, but I think she might be as well. It's a film I haven't seen for a long time. After this, she was in Paris, Texas in '84, which is still a highly beloved film and is a film I've seen quite a few times. Um, she's great in that. Uh, she was in Far Away So Close. She was in another film that I haven't been able to find called Night Sun. That was really interesting. She was never in sort of well known, big budget films. I think. Well, she might have also been in. I should have looked into this more. I feel like she was in Mission Impossible, maybe the first Mission Impossible, but I'm probably wrong on that too. Anyway, um, I haven't heard of her for a long time, but she's just so of that late '70s, early '80s period, and just got an amazing face. Just even if you don't think she's a great actress, her face is incredible. Malcolm McDowell. Uh, this guy is just an incredible screen presence. He is so watchable. I've always been fascinated by him. Ever since I saw photos of him in A Clockwork Orange in an old magazine that I acquired when I was about 15, and it was all about taboo films, and it had them all. It had all the old Russ Meyer films in there. It had all the horror films you'd expect, but it had some interesting other films like A Clockwork Orange, and it had a big spread about that. And I was already interested in A Clockwork Orange. I think I read the novel around that time as well, and he just looked so malevolent as Alex, the head of the Droogs. And of course, later I saw that film, and it's just an incredible performance. And in that magazine, I read about what he had to do for that role, which is amazing, and for another time. But just his eyes, he's got these huge eyes, and a really steady gaze, and he's just a really interesting guy. And again, like Nastasha Kinski, whenever you hear Malcolm McDowell, you know that the film is going to be a little bit different, a little bit off center, and his character, is going to be definitely off center. I don't think I've ever seen him play a straight role, and he commits with his intensity, never holds back, shows everything. In this film, he literally shows everything, just about. And that's why he's perfect for the role of Paul. Paul is a real oddball. And McDowell really understands the strange theatrical nature of the character. He's in great shape too for this film. He must have been in his 30s by this time. He's looking fantastic. He's got that physical confidence in his body too, and a sort of feline quality that I touched on earlier, and it makes the transformation believable. Great scenes of him pouncing and jumping and leaping up onto things, and it looked great. I don't know how they did that in 1982. It looks fantastic. He was in some other big films too. If in 1968, that was a Lindsay Anderson film, as was Oh Lucky Man in 1973. A couple of films I've seen and I'd like to revisit. Notoriously, he was in Caligula as well, which I think was put together by Penthouse, or they had a big involvement in that film. Probably the first time I saw him was in Blue Thunder with Roy Scheider in '83, where he's the rival and the bad guy, a perfect bad guy. Anyway, I always keep an eye out for him, and he's great in this film. John Hurd, like I said, as Oliver, also an interesting actor. He's also another one that's in so many unusual films. I feel like Paul Schrader just went and found all the people that were at the top of his list that are in interesting offbeat films. John Hurd had been in Cutter's Way just before this, and that is a great film where he sports an eye patch with Jeff Bridges. That's a great film, great novel too. He went on and I always remember him in After Hours as the bartender. He was perfect in that. And then I think most people know him from, or would recognize him from Home Alone as the dad. But I've got to say, I think he wasn't great in this one. easily the weakest of the three main performances. He is sort of supposed to be the emotional anchor of the film, the normal guy, but he's just too bland. He doesn't react enough. He just goes along with some, frankly, unbelievable, bizarre happenings. He just rolls with it. He never seems shocked or surprised, and it's like he's moving in quicksand. Just not interesting, which I usually find John Hurt quite good. The only time when he's really natural is when Irina asks him out to dinner, and if you're John Hurt and Nastasha Kinski's asking you out to dinner, like, yeah, pick your jaw up off the floor, and that's the look on his face, like all his dreams have come true. Completely understand that reaction. So yeah, John Hurt didn't work for me in this role. Would have been good if they could have recast it maybe, but yeah, just my opinion. He also delivers one of the worst pickup lines in cinema when he's trying to get Nastasha Kinski into the sack. He says that the only way to keep the alligators away. This is when they've fled New Orleans, gone out to the bayou, to this little shack right on the water there. The only way you can keep the alligators away is by making love, because the noise, they hate the noise. That's not sure that you'll find that in any Kama Sutra guide or Casanova's advice, but that's memorable. Not necessarily effective, but memorable. All right. There are some great horror elements in the film, though, even though I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror film. Good luck in trying to classify this movie, is my advice. But some of the attack sequences are where the film does become really effective, and the blood running down the drain, splashing onto Irina's shoes is a great visual after Ed Begley is de-armed. His reaction to that is pretty priceless too, and not some of Ed Begley's best work. But when it's combined with Moroder's music in that scene, it's pretty awesome. I really thought the swimming pool sequence with Annette O'Toole is one of the best scenes in the film. I'm not just saying that because she's topless. It's effective and chilling because you think that you hear the panther, and then the lights go out and she's swimming around in this pool inside on her own, and all the corners are in darkness. The tension comes from not knowing where this panther is. That was a really, really effective scene. I thought the actual transformations for both Kinski and McDowell were pretty effective. We're talking 1982 here. The cat eyes, I really like the cat eye effect on Malcolm McDowell. Geez, he looked terrifying when his eyes went like that, and his face is all screwed up as well. Like, he really the perfect guy for the role. Probably quite a simple effect to do, but really unsettling. And yeah, I enjoyed those. One thing I noticed is the scene in the dark room. It seemed like this is a lost art. A lot of movies used to have this as a thing, with people developing, their own photos. I saw it recently in Passion Fish. And of course, the film Blow Up centers around this, as does Blowout, the De Palma Travolta collaboration. There were a lot of others, but I don't know. It was always just something interesting, and you'd watch the process happening with that tinge of red, and it was a really effective way for a character to discover something from a photograph, and you'd just be there on the edge of your seat. Of course, digital photography and technology's changed everything now, and hopefully this is going to come back. I think cameras are coming back, but anyway, there was just something slower and more physical about that process, and it's that delayed gratification that my Generation X knows all about. You had to wait. You had to create something. Just another thing I noticed, there is a connection with Mishima. John Hurd has got a biography of Yukio Mishima sitting on his bedside table. 3 years before, Schrader directed Mishima: A Life in Four Chapters. Just a little signpost there to what he was already thinking about. I think when I think about my reaction now to watching Cat People, obviously the film is now 44 years old. It was of a time and a place, and I think Schrader was just going for a stylistic statement. With a story like this, you can't pretend that it's real or that it's got any deeper meaning. I think you just really got to rely on the entertainment, the weird factor. I guess for me, there was a couple of times when the panther just disappeared so easily and quickly without any explanation that left me a bit cold. Just felt like a bit of a convenient plot device. That sort of hurt the film a little bit. The film does ask you to accept a lot because it's operating more as that mood piece than a logical story. When it works in those critical scenes, it does work brilliantly. Like when the characters are transforming or acting like panthers. When Kinski scales the tree and the wall when she's trying to escape the zoo the first time when she comes across John Hurd, that's pretty effective. When she's looking into the eyes of the panther through the cage and her face contorts. Any of the scenes with Malcolm McDowell in it are just interesting, if not completely off the wall. The scene where he's trying to seduce her for the first time and just lying on the bed is fantastic. It's just so ballsy. It is pretty uneven though in tone and the pacing. I looked down at my watch and it was like 45 minutes in and not a whole lot had happened. After that it revs up a fair bit, but I guess that reflects the times, but also this material and these people, and I think Schrader could have done a bit more in that first 45 minutes. And I think overall it's quite uneven. It drags a little bit. It is a little bit too long. It's nearly 2 hours. I think it could have been around 100 minutes. Trim about 20 minutes off and we're looking a bit better. But there are moments, like I said, when it is fantastic. It looks stunning. The music's fantastic. It does create pretty effective New Orleans type atmosphere. And like I said, I really enjoyed the performance of McDowell. Nastassja Kinski is not as good. God, she is brave. She, the scene where she goes out for that night stroll in the bayou and comes across all sorts of creatures, and she's looking at it through the panther's eyes when she's aware of her destiny, and she just rips her dress off and she's stalking around in the nude, is compelling whichever way you want to think about it, for the obvious reasons, but also just her bravery as an actor. It shows you the times, though, I guess, when that was an expectation. To be fair, though, McDowell gets his kid off as well, as does John Hurd. Everyone's going for broke in this one, so it had a quality in the naked stakes. But that was an effective scene with the different colour palettes that Schrader uses. I think he's trying to show you the way that a big cat would look out through its eyes. But apart from that, her acting is not great. She's quite stilted, and she's not a natural performer. Definitely not at this point, anyway. I think she picked up and improved as her career went on. But John Hurd is not good. Doesn't work for me. I can't picture why a girl like Irina would be interested in him. The way he performs, not him personally. Like I said, I do like him in other films, but he's a big fail here. It's a strange film. Okay, it's hard. It's really hard to sum it up. It's really hard to get my arms around this one, and that's why it's got a devoted cult following. There are people who stand alone for this film. There's others that would dismiss it, wouldn't even watch it. I'm sure. I'm probably more in the middle. Yeah, I can understand the style and appreciate that what Schrader was going for, but yeah, I think he could have made it a bit less of a mess. Um, is it a date film? Probably not. It's so bizarre. If you really want to make a big statement, it's like I keep saying, it's maybe a Travis Bickle roll of the dice. It's not too far off taking your date to a porno. The love scenes, there's some pretty the sex scenes in this look pretty real. And just the material and the whole thing feels very bizarre. So you got to be a pretty confident person to make this a date film. But yeah, why not? Give it a go. Hangover film, possibly. Like I said, it's so weird and wonderful, and the visuals and the music are probably the strong points. So you can just sort of drift along and let it wash over you. Shake your head a bit. Solo watch, yeah, definitely. Maybe the best option. Not a film to watch with someone that you don't know well. They might develop a certain opinion of you. That said, again, it's a way to make a statement, maybe to put cat people on. Say, hey, check this out, when you already know what it's about. So look, it's not a perfect film by any stretch, but it is fascinating. It was a strange decision for Paul Schrader to remake a 1942 film when he'd come off, writing Taxi Driver and what else had he done? Blue Collar, Hardcore, amongst other things. And then, yeah, an interesting choice. Good on him for trying. And I think the combination of Schrader, Nastassja Kinski, McDowell, Giorgio Moroder, David Bowie, set in New Orleans, it is going to come out unique and interesting. And the atmosphere is nearly the main character, I've got to say. So it's probably not one I'm going to rush back to again, but I'm glad I went back and crossed it off the list, and it was not boring. And that is always the main requisite for any film I'm interested in. So yeah, Cat People, 1982. Check it out. You can rent it on YouTube. Like I said, I found it on a DVD. It would probably definitely be better on a good print. So maybe the YouTube print has been remastered, and it'll look even better. So yeah, check it out, but be aware of what you're wading into, I guess, is my advice. All right, thanks as always for listening. See you next time.